One of the key issues in Turkey's election this weekend was the country's economy, which has recently been struggling with its worst crisis in decades. For a closer look, we're joined now in studio by Brian Quinn. He's from our business desk here at France 24. Brian, good to have you with us this morning. Firstly, can you just walk us through the bigger picture when it comes to the Turkish economy?
So Sharon, Recep Tayyip Erdogan took office as Prime Minister in 2003, promising economic growth. And for a long time, actually, he really did deliver during his first decade in power. Turkish annual GDP tripled to make it the world's 16th largest economy. As of 2014, it was the fastest growing economy in the OECD. And there were high expectations for that growth to continue. But if we can take a look here around 2014, the trend essentially began to reverse with GDP on a significant decline. A low of just over $720 billion in 2020 was blamed in large part on the COVID pandemic and the loss of tourism revenue. A rebound in 2021 and 2022, remaining far below earlier highs. Many blame Erdogan's authoritarian drift for that loss of momentum. As he consolidated power, he focused on huge landmark construction projects over industrial investment, relying also on a massive government spending. He also weakened a lot of key institutions critical to the Turkish economy, crucially the central bank, that scaring off investors and sparking an exodus of young talent. Most analysts say the country's economic woes have created the opening for the opposition that's led to the runoff. Take a listen here.
The reason why this party keeps winning is that because it delivered to voters certain material benefits, and this is the first time that magic seems not to be working because of the economy, because of the high inflation, increasing cost of living.
Well, Brian, let's talk for a minute about that aspect of the economy, inflation, one of the key issues in voters' minds as they cast their ballots on Sunday.
So Sharon, around the world, the pandemic recovery, supply chain issues, as well as the war in Ukraine have sparked a cost of living crisis. In Turkey, though, the scale of it really is on another level. Whereas countries like the US and the UK have seen their annual inflation rates top out at around 10 to 12%. Turkey's official rate peaked at over 85% last October, before falling back to just under 44% currently. And those are the official rates. Many analysts believe that the real inflation felt by consumers is even higher. That inflationary pressure has made it hard for average Turks to pay their utility bills, buy clothes, even feed themselves. And it's been exacerbated, in fact, by Erdogan's extremely unorthodox economic theories. Now, nearly all mainstream economists see raising central bank interest rates as a key policy tool for taming inflation. Money gets more expensive to borrow, businesses curtail spending, demand for goods falls, prices come down. Erdogan, though, believes the opposite, and he's pushed hard for cutting interest rates in the face of inflation, going so far as to fire the head of Turkey's central bank in 2021 when he wouldn't go along.
But inflation is not the only factor hurting purchasing power for people in Turkey, though, is it, Brian?
No, it isn't, but it is, in fact, related to the next factor, which is the fall in the value of the Turkish lira under Erdogan. And one important effect that raising interest rates has is to boost the relative value of a country's currency. Higher interest rates draw foreign investment into interest-bearing bonds, which need to be purchased in the local currency, which drives up its value. So while the U.S. Federal Reserve has been raising its rates at the fastest pace in decades to tame inflation there, Turkish rate cuts have helped push the lira to record lows against the dollar. In 2014, 1 lira was worth between 40 and 50 US cents. It's now at around 5 cents per lira. And Turkey runs a significant trade deficit. That means it imports more than it exports. And that weak lira makes those imports more expensive, forcing higher prices at home. That's having a devastating effect on purchasing power and savings. More than half of Turkish working people are now earning the equivalent of less than $300 per month. So looks like we're headed for a runoff. Whoever takes the reins in Ankara is going to have their work cut out for them to turn the Turkish economy around, Sharon.
OK, Brian, thank you so much for that. That's Brian Quinn joining us from our business desk here at France 24.